Yeah, digital for the business is all of those things. It's absolutely the operational, it's absolutely the right technology delivered through the business in the right way. But I think attitudinally digital is something that everybody has to embrace, and that's what makes it so difficult. It isn't a case of a new piece of software that changes a small part of the operation. It's the entire organisation, bottom down, top up, simultaneously, and it's never ending, it's constant, and it's extremely challenging. Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk, I think, in the last year about the relationship between CIOs and CMOs, and that's certainly valid. And as I think most people are aware, the spending power has shifted really in the developed markets to the CMOs. That changes the dynamic a little bit, I think, in terms of CIOs understanding quite how they fit into these environments. They certainly have an awful lot to bring to the table, but the CMOs are the ones that are having to make this junction with the customer directly. So you have to work out exactly in your organisation how that's going to behave. In addition, we're beginning to see an awful lot of new C-suite type roles emerging. Chief Digital Officer, Chief Revenue Officers, Chief Customer Experience Officers, and things as esoteric as, Chief Storytellers. And I think that's all well and good, because all of that is pushing towards digital mandate enshrined in a single individual. And that doesn't cause then a pigeonholing of, is this a technology conversation or is this a marketing conversation? It's always going to be both. One can't exist without the other. And with any of these leadership conversations, I think it's about the usual things that go with being a great leader. How do you communicate well? How do you think clearly about the future and get away from the struggles of an everyday operating capability in order that you can liberate yourself and your people to go on and do the next thing? Yes, there are two areas. First is pretty pragmatic, mobile. Mobile's a dynamic animal, it keeps changing, customer expectation is moving, and organisations are struggling to keep up. They're doing mobile, they're just not doing it as well as they would like, and so improving expenditure, improving tools and process is going to make a big difference to the customer experience. The second thing, I think, is how does a business react to disruption if all its people are spending most of their time working on business as usual? So how do you carve out a centre of excellence that can deliver on the future? Providing mandate, providing funding, and making forward progress on the strategy rather than business as usual makes a massive difference. Content and creativity are really close to my heart. Clearly, as a business, Adobe's been in the creative space for 30 years with Photoshop and all the subsequent Creative Cloud tools. But for me, content's the heart of all of this. Everything that all of these organisations do is about putting stories in front of the customer. This is a storytelling and mindshare question in an attention economy. The data and the data management is critical to understand what the content is doing, but without the content, you can't have the data conversation. So for us at Adobe, I think we regard content as the most important part, and concomitant with that is you've got to have creativity. If you're attempting to segment and personalise your audience and you're trying to deal with different messages in different channels, you're going to need more content. This idea of a content velocity, the work we've done suggests that we're going to need 10 times more content. Where do you get that? How do you pipeline that into your delivery process efficiently? Very challenging. Yes, the first thing is it's not as hard as you might think. You're not alone, you're not the only people going through this process, and that the industry or vertical that you operate in doesn't need to be a limitation for the source of your inspiration about how to change. You can learn from anybody who's going through transformation. That's really important. The second then is standardization. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Look at what exists with respect to best practice. Look at who is leading in the software stakes and understand that you don't have to go through large feature-based conversations. This is about entering digital and achieving a sort of price of entry low watermark in terms of capability. So as I was saying earlier, if your mobile experiences aren't up to scratch, deal with those. If your data and analytics pieces are not simply giving you baseline information, there's an obvious place to start. And regard this as a maturity curve. It doesn't happen overnight. You do have to build some expertise, but you can get help from best in class along the way.